Week number 3 is upon us in the world of college football, and week number 2 in the NFL. Time to start making some way too early assumptions on teams that are the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, Seminole Bill and I will have a few locks for you, Vegas style. All that coming your way on the Marc Loyd Show. Let's make it rain, my friends.
It's me, Marc Loyd. The Marc Loyd is actually talking to the rock.
Marc Loyd.
Has his man wide open. That's Bailey at the 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Mario Bailey.
Marc Loyd.
What do we want as a sports fan? Huh? What do we want?
Marc Loyd.
Boy, for all you Gator fans out there, what kind of year is Florida going to have? Because I'm not a huge fan of vegetables. Okay, so how can I eat some? Just blend them up.
Sit back, relax, and let this guy do all the thinking for you. Marc Loyd.
You know, I gotta admit, I was devastated when the XFL went under, because I was having a great time calling the games for him, doing the play-by-play. It was a lot of fun, even though I had a Gator as my partner. And gosh, what was his name? Brad Culpepper. He was my color guy.
And Brad's from Tallahassee, you know. He went to Leon, I believe.
Did he really?
Sure did.
Yeah, I got a great story with him. One of the more fascinating few minutes in my life live on the radio with Mr. Culpepper during a live XFL game for the Orlando Rage. All right, folks, so much to get to. Thanks for tuning in to the Marc Loyd Show right here on Freedom 93 FM. Seminole Bills in the house along with Eric. And, boy, you guys, we have so much to fit into this 1 hour. I just don't know how we're going to do it. Have you noticed that we're always on like a 2-minute drill?
That's true.
I mean, it's a 2-minute drill. It's Seminole Bill or somebody Eric calling in the plays and us just trying to run it like an Oregon offense. You know, up and down the field to try to get every single thing in. Well, I said you guys are here. How are you guys doing on this beautiful Saturday?
Doing great. It's a great day to be here. And go Noles.
Go Noles for Seminole Bill. Eric, how's the new car?
It is awesome.
It is awesome. What did you get?
I got a Chrysler 300.
Chrysler 300. Okay, very cool. Ladies' car. Man, young guy, great car, looks. He is set. And he's on the air. I mean, what? He's got the whole package going on.
Oh,
now, don't start throwing out your Facebook page or anything for anybody to hit you up.
He's not going to do that, but he's doing all right for himself.
Yeah, I figured that.
And I am single.
And he is single, so there you go. We got that in there. And you can catch him. He's at every Seminole game out front. You know what I mean? So you'll be able to find Eric there. All right, you can hit us up on Twitter. At Marc Loyd Show. Also, the website, marcloydshow.com. And, of course, on Facebook. That's how we communicate with you. Now, we were off last week. We were preempted by the Gators. So, because we're the home of the Gators and the Jags all season long. So, this is really our first chance to talk about the first 2 weeks of college football and the first week of the NFL, about what has transpired already. Let's get right into it for your hometown Florida State Seminoles, who are 2-0 on the season, which is always good. A really hard-fought Oklahoma State game that, as Coach Fisher said, had momentum early on, then lost it, never regained it. But at the end of the day, the great teams find a way to win the game. And that's the bottom line. When you look at the Oklahoma State game, they followed it up last week up against Citadel, and offensive-wise, very efficient. Defensive-wise, question marks. Obviously, Citadel turned out to be a bunch of cheap shot artists on the offensive line, injuring, at the time, 3 defensive tackles for Florida State. Who was it? It was Eddie Goldman, Nigel Stample, and I can't. The other one's slipping my mind. But, Shanks, Justin Shanks.
Shanks.
Yeah. So 3 injuries. None look like they're devastating injuries, which is good. You know, I know Goldman had a boot on and everything like that. However, you know, it was a shame that Citadel did stuff like that. But now, Seminole Bill, before we move on to the other teams, our observations on that. Here's mine for all you Florida State fans out there that are panicking and because of certain things that happened in the Oklahoma State game. And the number one thing that jumps out at me right now is our third down situations, how we're giving up to Oklahoma State and to the Citadel on third down, where last year we were one of the best teams in the nation. This year, so far, we're awful. Florida State is just awful on defending the third down. And you went up against an Oklahoma State team that maybe people underestimated. And they obviously had some real speed, especially with Hill. Citadel is a joke, especially since you know they're not going to throw the football when you could have stacked the line. And they still converted third downs, long third downs. So that was an area of concern, which leads you to ask the next question is, how much are they missing the Telvin Smith, the LaMarcus Joyner, the Timmy Jernigan on the defensive side of the ball? Or let's throw the or out there, Seminole Bill.
Yes, please.
And that is the coaching. You know, it's 2 games in. But Charles Kelly, you know, Jeremy Pruitt goes over there to the Georgia. And the big thing with Georgia is not Todd Gurley. Everybody knew he was great. It's how the defense shut down Clemson in the second half.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely shut them down. And that's in-game adjustments. And that's what Jeremy Pruitt did fantastic. Look at the national championship game against Auburn, how he made the adjustments and were able to pull out the victory after really at a few points in the first half just getting steamrolled, right, by Auburn. Yeah. But he made the adjustments. So that's one of the question marks. Seems like we had no pass rush. Here's the thing, Bill. Tell me this. How does Florida State continue to have these fantastic guys that can rush the passer, yet the other team never gets called for holding? Never gets called for holding. It's truly amazing how you sit down and you go, wow, I'm watching a game, and these guys are going, Bjorn, who plays for the Colts. I mean, all these fantastic defensive ends. Mary Edwards Jr. right now, and Casher on the other end, and Goldman and Jernigan up in the middle last year and this year. But the sacks are always, they're always missing. But there's never any holding. So give me something. Either, you know what I mean?
It's just even it up, baby. These guys are the other Seminoles. They come out here in their nice unis and, everything's going on, and we're going to make the game a little bit closer, I think. I'm sorry. I just wonder sometimes, just like you do, how can that not be a hold when the guy gets taken down? How can we not have a high-low block from the guy that admits he was after, our guys on the line? I'm baffled by it. Offensive-wise,
I don't really have, if you're a Seminole fan, you shouldn't really have any concerns. I know they only put up 30-something points against the Citadel, which is ugly. I don't care what anybody says. You got to light even the teams that are the FC, the terrible teams out there that you play, the one cupcake, the Citadel. You got to light them up for at least 50. I mean, I know they scored on 6 in the first 7 possessions. Then you bring in the backups. However, that doesn't matter because Florida State's backups are still 3, 4, and 5-star kids, are still superstars. The Citadel, I guarantee you, they don't even have a 1-star kid on that team. Not even a 1-star. So even though your backups are in the game and they're learning, still talent takes over. And you got to put up the 40 and 50 points because I don't care what anybody says. It's still about style points sometimes, even with the 13-person committee that's going to pick the playoffs. Seminole Bill, do you have any, before we move on, because we're going to have to get the break in a second. But before we move on, what about the Charles Kelly, Jeremy Pruitt? Do you have any? What's your observation? Do you have any concerns, or the same concerns as I do?
It's there in my mind as a fan and watching it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier. I mean, we normally talk about in-game improvements always occur between game 1 and 2. You really can't, like you said earlier, look at the Citadel as that number 2 game. It's a different opponent. Clemson coming up with an off week. Even though we've got a couple of injuries, hopefully they'll be healed, will tell us if that's, if we're really on course or if we've got some things that haven't transitioned yet, with all the changes over the last few years.
I think Seminole Bill, I think we're on the same page when it comes to that. So hit us up, Florida State fans, on if you agree with us. Maybe what are some of your concerns as the Florida State Seminoles have a bye week tonight or today, but then Clemson next up. Hit us up on Twitter at Marc Loyd Show right here on Freedom 93 FM. Stay with us, my good friends. Protect your identity today with Fraud Protection Network's Rapid Pro program. Call them at 855-203-0683 and ask for the Rapid Pro program, or visit them at www.fraudprotectionnetwork.com.
You're the person your company, family, and friends turn to when something needs to get planned. A meeting, an out-of-town conference, sporting event, reunion, church function, or a sorority or fraternity event. What a headache. Well, there's a little secret that's going to make your life a lot easier and make you look like a hero. Bassett Events is a professional events, conference, and meeting planning service right here in Tallahassee. And they provide site selection and contract negotiation services to you at no cost. Yep, no cost. As long as your event requires at least 10 hotel rooms for one or more nights. You see, Bassett Events gets paid by the hotel, resort, or vendor, and they'll negotiate the best possible rates for you. Bassett Events saves you time, money, and aggravation, but still keeps you in control of the decision-making process. It's one-stop shopping, and you'll be a hero because it'll be our little secret. Bassett Events, exceeding expectations one event at a time. Call 877-7-EVENT-1, 877-7-EVENT-1, online at BassettEvents.com.
This is Bill Bassett
And Eric Sweeney.
with Bassett Promotions, producers of The Marc Loyd Show. Want to put your brand with a proven winner? Outstanding advertising and sponsor opportunities are currently available for The Marc Loyd Show. Give us a call at 877-738-3681, and we'll discuss ways to get your company on the airwaves, right here, where Tallahassee comes to talk, on the all-new Freedom 93 FM.
Protect your identity today with Fraud Protection Network's Rapid Pro program. Welcome back to the Marc Loyd Show here on Freedom 93 FM. How can you not like the White Stripes? Someone to Bill, do you know who the White Stripes are?
I think I'm about to learn.
Yeah. Eric, do you know who the White Stripes are?
The Who?
Oh, Lord. Okay. All right, well, we'll move on anyway. Coming up in just a little bit, another Seminole great. Pat Carter will be joining us.
Man, that is a old-time great.
Yes, and I cannot wait to ask him about he was a part of the 87 game against Miami, and the two-point conversion. The ball is supposed to go to him.
The heartbreaker.
Yeah, I can't wait to ask him about that. Hopefully he won't get upset, then I'm bringing it back up. Some of the Bills over there just guzzling water. I love it. All right, let's do our water break real quick, folks. Every week we keep track of how much water we are drinking, which you should at least a gallon a day. It's super healthy for you. It's our Austin Idol water break. Similar to Bill, how many ounces today?
Salud, I'm already at 60.
You're at, whoa, Seminole Bill. I'm up on you by 2. I'm at 62. Eric holds up, looks like a can of please tell me that's not 32 ounces of like lemonade. Yeah.
How do you know me so well?
Oh, Lord. Have you had any water today?
There's water in my lemonade.
There you go. Seminole Bill.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
You got to have a long talk with Eric over there.
I think so.
All right. We already talked about Florida State and our questions and concerns going into really the game that matters, Clemson, where you could get a good gauge. Hit us on Twitter at Marc Loyd Show. Also visit us on Facebook, Marc Loyd Show, and also our website, marcloydshow.com. All right, let's talk about the Gators. We're the home of the Gators here. Florida opens up. First game gets rained out. Second game, they go up against a team nobody's ever heard of, but that's okay. And they win 65-0. And here's what was very interesting. So they blow out this team. But what I found interesting was, late in the third quarter, fourth quarter, Jeff Driscoll, and everybody's still out there just bombing away, throwing. And you know what? Gator fans will defend it as, well, they're learning a new system with Kurt Roper. You got to get as much practice as them. But in my opinion, what Will Muschamp is doing is sending a notice to all the recruits out there saying, listen, we're a different team. We throw the ball. We score points. We're exciting. Come play for the Florida Gators. That's what that was all about. This week, they go up against Kentucky, who's 2-0. And you know what, though? This is what always kills me about the SEC and all you SEC fans out there. No matter how bad your teams are, the Kentuckys of the world, you'll prop them up, even though they're 2-0, to like, oh, man, that's going to be a stiff challenge this week. That's going to be a heck of a game. No, it's not. It's just like when Florida State plays a Georgia Tech. it's a blowout for the most part. When Florida State plays Duke, all these the SEC blows up even their bad teams. Like if they're getting ready to play Vanderbilt, well, Vanderbilt, no, they're absolutely awful. And here's why you always have to go back and look at one part of the country. Actually, just one little part of a state that's called Las Vegas. And if it was that good of a game, and Kentucky was that good, and we're building them up, Florida would not be an 18.5-point favorite. 18.5 points. Ooh. That's 3 touchdowns, Bill.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. Don't tell me it's going to be a good game. It's just not.
Mark Stoops is there now.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. So Florida will be able to take care of business against a Kentucky team that everybody thinks is really good, that really isn't. And then they get ready for, a Tennessee and an Alabama team down the road.
Yeah, well, you got to look back because your brother and I can tell you that Kentucky's always been a thorn in the Gators' sides. Gator fans will tell you, touchdown, Doring, all those great calls from back in the day when they were behind.
Listen, I don't care if they're a thorn in the side. What I'm saying, no, I'm not debating that with you, Bill. What I'm debating is that don't tell me Kentucky's a really good football team. Don't tell me Kentucky's a good football team. Prove it over some time. Not get a few wins and tell me you got a great recruiting class coming in, et cetera, et cetera. Just like how everybody always talks about that Ole Miss Alabama game last year, how it was so close. Alabama absolutely just annihilated that team. Shut them out. They didn't put up a ton of points, but Ole Miss was not about the score. And so it's great propaganda from the conference. I got to tip my hat to them. No other conference pumps up their conference like the SEC. And they truly do stick together.
They do.
They really do.
I grew up on SEC football, even though I went to Florida State.
Yeah, I know that. That you're absolutely right. All right. So there's the Gators. Let's jump down south, far south, to the Miami Hurricanes, and just embarrassing. Just awful.
Yeah.
Just an awful, awful performance against Louisville. They made Louisville look like that Louisville should be playing for the national championship. I mean, they made Louisville look fast, and maybe Louisville's quicker than we think, but no Teddy Bridgewater. No DeAndre Parker, their best wide receiver, and they just spanked Miami. And it was just embarrassing with all the talent that Miami has.
What happened to Duke?
Yeah, Duke looked terrible. The quarterback situation is in shambles there. Yeah. And the defense, Perriman's like the only guy that really looks like that, the linebacker, that he belongs at Miami, even though they have other 5-star kids, like the Tracy Howards of the world that has never lived up to anything. It was very, very disappointing if you're a Hurricane fan.
Do they say that, Al's got any problems with what he's doing right now, or are they still relying on all the turbulence they went through?
No, that was always the crutch, right?
So how much longer does he have? Miami fans are not patient fans.
No, you're absolutely right. They got Arkansas State this week. Which they should get a victory, and boy, do they need one, and they need a blowout, and I guess that's why you schedule those teams. Okay, so Miami's just was very disappointing, and we'll see how they bounce back. They're going to beat Arkansas State and see how they move on, but right now they're just not looking too good. All right, let's jump around to the big scene. We can't rehash everything. Let's look forward to this week of a couple games, Seminole Bill. And to me, the 8 o'clock game, I'm pretty sure it's an 8 o'clock start time on ABC tonight, between Tennessee and Oklahoma. Oh. I am so looking forward to this game. Not necessarily because of the action that'll take place on the field, but because of the circumstances that are around it. And that is Bob Stoops and how much he dislikes the Southeastern Conference, even though that's where he came from, right? That's how he got Oklahoma's job.
He does have a little disdain for them, yes.
Man alive.
Wee bit.
And everybody, and he gets asked about it constantly. So here comes big bad Tennessee, right? Butch Jones and the boys, and how great Tennessee's just like Kentucky. Here we go.
Rocky Top.
Yeah, Rocky Top. They're
always
fantastic. Yeah. I don't know. I watched them last week, and it looked like they weren't that powerhouse that everybody thinks they are. So now Tennessee has to go out, and they're going to take on big bad Oklahoma. Last week won 52-7 over Tulsa. A lot of people predict them to be in the Final Four. Some predict them to win the national championship. So all I'm saying is that I guarantee you Bob Stoops is really, really looking forward to this game. Not because it's Tennessee, but because it's the SEC. And Stoops is not going to pull any punches, my friends. He's going to do his best to put a world of hurt on the Volunteers. World of hurt on them. And I think that they smacked them around, man. And I think that Bob Stoops' late night game is still doing everything in his power. Once the victory is in hand, which it will be, because Tennessee's not up to Oklahoma's level at all, that he's going to continue to do what Florida did last week to their opponent. Late in the game, throwing the football, throwing out the excuse of we got to get the backups, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to try to do their best to put a world of hurt and embarrass the SEC. And I think Oklahoma's going to do that. And Bob Stoops, I'm so looking forward to that football game. I really am.
I feel bad for Smokey. The dog's just not going to howl.
No, not at all. Not at all. And they got a real chance to prove something Oklahoma does. Because when it comes to the resume, they could say, well, hang on. You talk about how great the SEC is. Well, we just beat Tennessee. You guys were saying Tennessee's a good team, right? Or now are you backtracking on that and saying, well, they're 2 or 3 years away from being a great team, which is what the defense will be.
Been saying that for a lot of years, though.
Of course.
And a lot of coaches.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. The other game, which is Georgia, South Carolina, right?
Oh,
That's probably the marquee game of the weekend. It's kind of a weekend. I guess I could say that. It's kind of a weekend for big-time matchups. Not like we had this past week with Oregon and Michigan State, Notre Dame and Michigan, et cetera. But Georgia and South Carolina. South Carolina comes out of the box. We haven't had a chance to talk about that, how they just got spanked by Texas A&M. I know I'm all over the place, folks, but it's so funny. Kenny Hill has one game, and now he's like, Vegas puts him up as a top 10 Heisman Trophy candidate. It's like, wow, okay, all right, that fast.
No more Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Forget Johnny.
So Texas A&M blows out South Carolina at South Carolina. Here comes Georgia, who had a very impressive victory against a good Clemson football team. Clemson offense is going to be up and down this year, but their defense is a solid defense. They do. And Georgia just spanked them. Shut down the offense in the second half. Jeremy Pruitt, their defensive coordinator, and Todd Gurley. I mean, he's been a man since he came in as a freshman, right?
Big dude.
I mean, he really has. He's been the closest thing to an Adrian Peterson, to a Herschel Walker, to a Bo Jackson. The guys that are just like, wow, to the Randy Mosses of the world. They don't always have to be a running back, my comparisons. Just guys that are almost instantly bigger than the college game.
Different level.
Yeah, different level. Very good. And he proved it. So now they go up against South Carolina, and I'm not even going to say it's an interesting football game because I think South Carolina is not that good. I mean, Texas A&M proved that they are not that good. So I think we're all expecting Georgia to knock South Carolina and the old ball coach around. And I think they'll do just that. Now, I must say this, though. Georgia does have to come out and prove something throwing the football. I mean, Hudson Mason has to throw the ball for them. South Carolina's game plan obviously would be to line up everybody, put the 8 men in the box. I hate when I say that, but that is what they'll do. It sounds like a coach, and I've never coached football in my life. But they'll put the 8 men in the box to try to shut down Gurley and the rest of the Georgia running back crew. So they're going to put the onus on Hudson Mason to beat them. And that's the question mark, folks. That's the question mark. Is what kind of quarterback is Hudson Mason? Because down the road, Georgia, is going to have to play some teams where they're going to have to throw the football. I mean, people are going to be focused on shutting down the run game, and I don't think and they got to open up that. And that's really what I'm looking to gain from this game. And I don't know enough about Hudson Mason. I don't think any of us do. I know he had a great comeback the other year, but I don't think anybody really knows what you get when it comes to the Georgia quarterback. However, people have them as, the number one power team in the nation. A lot of people now put out their top 4 polls of who should be number 1 in the country, and it's Georgia, all because of what they did to Clemson. Deservedly so. They deserve a lot of praise, but I don't know. Let's not pass judgment yet. Let's pull back the reins a little bit, right, Seminole Bill?
Yeah.
I mean, the quarterback runs the show.
Well, Georgia's on the road. Georgia's on the road. Going to be a little bit noisy for them. South Carolina has to win this game. Really, I mean, it's do or die for them.
It is.
They can't. Get Bob to get in the SEC. So
it's a do or die game for them. They got to go on the road. But I guess I just go back and say Texas A&M went on a road with a quarterback that's never really played. You know,
right.
Without and Texas A&M went there without the running back arsenal that Georgia has.
Oh yeah,
you know, and the experience. And Texas A&M went on the road and knocked South Carolina around at this so-called tough place to play. You know, without the defense that Georgia has. That's why I think Georgia will roll in there and they'll steamroll South Carolina. And if they don't, then everybody needs to take a step back and say, okay, maybe we didn't think Georgia's as good as they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's and that leads you to when Florida State plays Clemson next week, and Georgia's already played Clemson. There's your common opponent,
right?
Which you could take a little away from. Not everything, but you could start pulling some stuff out of it. Go, wow, you know, Georgia did this to Clemson, and Florida State did this to Clemson. Or hopefully it's not Clemson doing that to Florida State, right, Seminole Bill?
Right.
All right. When we come back, we have former Seminole great Pat Carter that's going to join us here on the Marc Loyd Show. Hit us up on Twitter at Marc Loyd Show. Visit our Facebook page, Marc Loyd Show, and, of course, online at marcloydshow.com. All that coming up next right here on Freedom 93 FM. You know, Bill, as I mentioned earlier, every 3 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity theft.
Every 3 seconds? Seriously?
Yeah, every 3 seconds. How about this stat? 1 in 3 people will be a victim of identity theft.
That's scary, especially in a college town with all the crazy things that happen here.
You're absolutely right. Identity theft knows no age. It can happen to us, to you that are listening, whether personally or to your kids, to students. It's really a serious problem.
So how do we keep our identity safe?
Well, we have that one covered now. Let me tell you about the real deal in identity theft protection services. Our friends at Fraud Protection Network have developed an amazing program, an amazing service that all of us need these days. So what do you want in an identity theft company? Huh? What do you want? Seminole Bill, how about this? Protect your identity with Fraud Protection Network's Rapid Pro program.
Rapid Pro, huh?
Yeah, hold on. Wait for it. How about this? Real-time alerts, huh? Public record update alerts, credit monitoring, Experian credit report and score, and priority live member support. How about that?
Well, it sounds like we got that one covered.
No doubt about it. Friends, why not allow Fraud Protection Network to worry on your behalf? Get a variety of features that drive you toward having the peace of mind that you deserve, Seminole Bill, and everybody else out there. Monitoring, protection, support, it's all there. True real-time alerting, no secondhand stuff. Victim assistance, address change verification, and positive trigger alerts. Just call Fraud Protection Network at 855-203-0683. Don't delay, call today, 855-203-0683, and ask for the Rapid Pro program and tell them the Marc Loyd Show sent you.
Hey, this is Eric from the Marc Loyd Show. You all heard about my car situation. Not so good. But let me tell you something that was amazing. That would be the service I received at Crown Motors of Tallahassee, 7291 West Tennessee Street. Trey met me on the lot. We talked about what I needed. He had plenty of quality used vehicles. There was no high-pressure sales tactic, just great customer service. It really was the easiest car buying experience I have ever had. So take it from me. Good credit, bad credit, no credit at all? Go see Trey at Crown Motors of Tallahassee, 850-576-6800. You can visit them on the web, www.crowncarsales.net. Be sure to tell them that Eric from the Marc Loyd Show sent you, and let Crown Motors of Tallahassee hook you up with your next ride.
Protect your identity today with Fraud Protection Network's Rapid Pro program. Welcome back to the Marc Loyd Show here on Freedom 93 in Tallahassee. Seminole Bill's doing the chop over there. Time for another Back to the Future segment where we welcome a former Seminole great onto the Marc Loyd Show. And this week, a real treat. We welcome former Florida State tight end, All-American, Pat Carter, and NFL veteran. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to come on the Marc Loyd Show. And Pat, I won't beat around the bush. Once we knew that you were coming on the show, the one question that I have it written down first because I didn't want to forget about it. And my brother's a Florida State alumni, Seminole Bill over there also, obviously, I'm sure you get asked about the 87 game with Miami and the 2-point conversion. But the question we wanted to know, was there any kind of waffling when it came to that 2-point conversion? Was it like, maybe we should do it, maybe we shouldn't, or was it just Bobby saying, no, there's no doubt about it, go for the 2-point conversion?
Yeah, Coach Bowden, to my recollection now, because I think we're talking, 27 years now, but in my recollection, I don't remember Coach hesitating. I knew we called a timeout, but we only called a timeout just to make sure we had the right play call on. And that's what I thought we had the right play call on, but unfortunately it didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but I think it was the right call. And just talking with so many Seminole fans out there, I think everybody agreed. You know what I mean? To go for it. Seminole Bill, were you there at the game?
I was there with your brother in the stands.
Okay.
I mean, I hate to say this, Pat, but there were tears flowing from a lot of guys that day because that was a heck of a ball game. You guys battled those guys down to the wire, and I still have the vision in my head of you going up there, and those. I guess you had double coverage, and it was just a tough place for Danny to put the football.
I hate to throw somebody out, but because I love my quarterback, man. But the ball was supposed to go to the back corner pylon.
Gotcha.
And if you ever look at it again, if the ball's put at the back corner pylon, we had a play. I think we had a play.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it. I like that. I hear I could feel or see the smile on your face, even though we're on radio, as you were saying that. Pat, let me ask you, because it's a great perspective, because you were there when Florida State really started the dominance, and I guess you could say you guys are the bottom bricks that really built what Florida State became until, even today. What was that like as you saw the talent, including yourself, being amassed by Bobby Bowden in those mid 80s that led to teams like you had in 87, just a powerhouse of a team, only losing one game that year, and that was to Miami. What was that like being a part of that?
Oh, it was actually really, really great. I think my class of 84, we had a few players like myself and Paul McGowan that were, kind of name players. But that class that was after me, that was the impactful class. That was Dion, Sammy Smith. It was quite a few guys that were Pat Tomberlin. So we had some really, really stars of our team in that class, and I think that was the class that really propelled us to put us, from middle of the road to the top tier, one of the top tier programs.
You know what though? This brings up the next question though, because of what you said just then. And you had Paul and you as being the names in that 84 class. But did you find it that through recruiting and just through college football, the way it goes is that other players see that, hey, a Pat Carter went to Florida State. It's okay. So he must know something too. So if I'm Dion or at the time, even though Dion wasn't highly, Sammy Smith was, he knew that other superstars, back then they didn't have it, but other 4- and 5-star recruits are going there. How important do you think that is as a recruit where they already saw that they already had big names there like you guys and that somebody is taking a chance on the program?
Well, I think those guys saw, I know like a few of us, we played as freshmen. Not a majority of our class got redshirted, but there were a few of us that played, and I think those guys, when they were being recruited, Coach Bowden, obviously they could look into understand Coach Bowden's vision for where the program was headed, and they bought into it, and obviously, because I'm pretty sure that was a turning point class of my 4 years while I was at Florida State. How
did you and you were a firsthand witness of how from 84 to when you left, before you got drafted into the NFL, the mindset and the goals change around the program from just, hey, let's put up a good fight and the so-called moral victories once in a while to now we have the pressure because we are one of the top teams and we're supposed to win and we're supposed to compete for a national championship. How was that, witnessing that transformation?
That's a great question, and I've been asked that question a lot. I'll put it to you this way: when I first got to Florida State, you remember the Sod Cemetery?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was kind of like that was our theory, our theme to go out on the road and beat teams. Well, pretty much after my '87 season, I think we were the hunted. At one point, we were always hunting to get the notice or to be up in the higher echelons of college football. But I think after that '87 season, now we had become the hunted. We were no longer the hunters. We were the hunted.
That's interesting. I mean, and that's where it really took place for all you Seminole fans out there that might not have known that. I mean, that was the area, and that's really I didn't know, Pat, that '85 class, in your opinion, is really the one that kind of helped pole vault, Florida State even further as they went on to do great things. Now, were you shocked by the run then that happened with Florida State for 14 straight years of finishing in the top 5 or whatever it was? Or I don't think anybody could have seen that, or maybe you could if you played on the team and you knew who Coach Bowden was all about and the coaches that were around them and the talent that was being amassed. Were you surprised by a 14-year run like that?
Yes and no, because Coach Bowden had said that some years prior that he was building this program into one of the top tier programs, and I think that was one of his recruiting pitches. Do you want to get in on this? When he was telling the younger kids, do you want to get in on this? We're building this program, and we're going to be one of the top programs. And so obviously to see that it happened, Coach Bowden had the vision for it, and it obviously came to fruition.
What made everybody, though, believe him? A lot of coaches have visions, right? A lot of coaches tell you all kinds of stuff. But what separated Bobby Bowden, and made these top recruits and everybody buy into his vision with really, up until that point, not a huge track record of, obviously winning national championships or anything like that, Yeah,
well, now you have to always remember that Coach Bowden's an excellent recruiter. Don't you ever not get that. I don't know. Do you remember? Do you guys recall when they used to have the Bobby Bowden show and
yes,
he'd have there's Pat Carter. Yeah, I saw his mom come up from Sarasota.
Yes.
And he just had a great way, and parents loved that. That was good for them. I thought he did an excellent job with the recruiting.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, he did a really. Can you tell us a great Bobby Bowden story? We always ask our former Seminole greats to share one of those stories with us that were under Coach Bowden. What's maybe one story that sticks with you?
Oh, this is the best one. I always tell this story. This is a great story. Going into my senior year, which was the spring of '87, Coach Bowden came up with a new rule where fifth-year seniors didn't have to practice in the spring.
Mm.
Now, I was going into that particular year. I was a fourth-year senior, so I had to practice spring. I was highly upset. So here I am. I was prepped to go in the Coach Bowden office and to just tell him how I thought that was unfair. And I remember going upstairs, and his secretary, Miss Sue Hall, she said, she called him back, Coach Bowden, Pat Carter's there to see you. I said, oh, okay. I go in and see him, and I up being upset. And I say, Coach Bowden, I think that is so unfair. He took over the conversation. And only thing I can remember is walking out of that door, slamming the door, closing the door behind me, excuse me, ready to practice spring football. It was like, what did he just say?
That's great. I love that. Everything's a blur. Pat, that leads us back to the recruiting, him walking into the house and charming everybody. And there you go.
That's correct.
Wow, that is fantastic. I personally, our fans out there to listen to the show, they love hearing stories about Coach Bowden, especially inside stories like that. Seminole Bill, you have a question?
Yeah, Pat was around the school at the time you were there, and I caught something a while back, and I know you want to expound on this. You mentioned Coach McDuffie as being a big influence to the team back there. I think sometimes he's one that gets kind of lost in the shuffle. We forget about him, but he was inspirational to a lot of guys. I hear a lot of folks refer to McDuffie as one of their inspirations, along with Coach Bowden.
Oh, no question about it, Coach McDuffie. And I'm only speaking for myself but he turned a little chubby, I wouldn't say chubby, but a little chubby tight end from Sarasota. And by the time he was finished with me as a senior, I was just tough. He made me a tough guy. That's the best way I could put it.
He made you an All-American, and he made you a NFL draft pick. That's
correct.
Not too many people get a chance to even get drafted, yet alone play the length that you did in the NFL. And real quick, Pat, when you look back on your NFL career, what sticks out to you about that? You played on, I think, 4 or 5 different teams. You played. How weird does this sound? You played for the Los Angeles Rams. There's a lot of people out there that the younger generation are going, L.A. had a team. I thought L.A. wanted a team.
Football team, right.
Were you there in L.A. with Vince Ferragamo? Is it?
Oh, you making me really old. No, sir. Jim Everett was the quarterback by the time.
Jim Everett, that's it. Not Vince Ferragamo. I'm sorry, Jim Everett with the whole situation with the Jim Rome, because that's in our industry.
That's correct. I was still there then when that happened.
Okay, but what sticks out to you in your NFL career? What did you really enjoy about it? And
well, it was always amazing that these, especially when I initially got there, it was like, wow, I'm lined up over LT. This is LT. This is Reggie White. But now I had to make sure I jumped out of that admiration, and I had to do battle with them.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things like, wow, this is a guy I looked up to, but now I got to tear his head off.
Yeah. You know what? And my next question is what, to play in the NFL for 9-10 years, everybody's talented. So we know that, you're talented, but what do you attribute your longevity for? Because that's a long time. The average career is 3.5 years or something that you hear in the NFL. To play the length that you did, what do you attribute that to? Get rid of talent, okay? Because everybody has it. What made you so valuable to stick around and play for so many teams for that long?
Well, I think it was, obviously that God blessed me with the ability to stay healthy. I also had to. I guess one of the toughest things is like, you remember when we had these mat drills?
Yeah.
And there were times when I could say that I was tired and I just knew how to push through. And I was a pretty good blocker, and I think blocking kept me in the game as long as I did,
Well, that's awesome.
And, yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing. I did want to share this with you before we leave, though, is Larry, the tight end.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed. What'd you say?
O'Leary.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Tight end now?
Yes.
I want to share some. We have quite a few characteristics that run. His dad is from Sarasota. I knew his dad. His dad is a couple years older than me. He played at Cardinal Mooney when I played at. Steve and I played together at Florida State.
Okay.
How about that?
This is the kicker, though. His grandfather beat my dad in the NCAA tournament in college for golf.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
That's.
And then
What a small world! Don't you? I say that all the time, Pat. How about that? His granddaddy beat you. Oh my gosh! And the NCAA, so it's back to college sports again. You know what I mean?
Correct. That's
wow.
correct. In 1961 golf and NCAA tournament. Yep.
1961. Wow. What do you? And Pat, before we let you go, what are you doing these days? Do you obviously you still follow the Knowles closely? You know who O'Leary is and everything.
Sure.
But what else are you doing with your time?
Really, just been doing some volunteering, then also some mentoring with some kids. Just been doing that.
That's fantastic. Way to give back. Way to use your status to improve other people's lives. So that's really great, Definitely. Pat. Pat, hey, thank you very much. We always enjoy talking to Seminole greats, and you're definitely one of them. Pat Carter, right here on the Marc Loyd Show. Pat, take care. Have a great day, and go Knowles.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Pat.
Go Knowles.
All right. How about that? Another Seminole great here on the Marc Loyd Show, Seminole Bill.
Awesome guy.
Pat Carter, All-American, comes on. Now he's giving back. So there you are, Seminole fans. Somebody to be proud of that Warrior garnet gold. Still cheers for the Seminoles today. Okay, when we come back, we got to get into some more college football, Seminole Bill. Are you ready?
I'm ready for it.
Excellent. Some more college football talk. Plus, we're going to talk about the Jags and the NFL action. All that to come right here on the Marc Loyd Show on Freedom 93 FM. Stay with us.
Hey folks, it's Seminole Bill with the Marc Loyd Show. Once again, I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face. We just got our business cards back from Express Printing. They're located at 927 North Monroe Street. Tony and his staff always exceed our expectations. Printing, binding, even bulk mailing, all done affordably professionally and quickly. Express Printing, your one-stop printing shop, located at 927 North Monroe Street. Call Tony at 850-222-9777. That's 850-222-9777. Or on the web at iprintquick.com.
Protect your identity today with Fraud Protection Network's Rapid Pro program. Man, I love this song. I actually only had like three or four songs that I like. Jane's Addiction. Been Caught Stealing. That's what it feels like when we pick against Vegas every week, Bill, like we're stealing money from them. Even though we're not. No. Welcome back to the Marc Loyd Show here on Freedom 93 FM. You can follow us on Twitter at Marc Loyd Show. We come at you each and every Saturday. Thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. Before we get to the NFL, we still have Vegas picks coming up, plus Seminole Bill and I need to go head-to-head again. What was our records last week? Look that up. In the first week, you and I went head-to-head. Who came out on top?
I'll publish them, but you know what? That doggone Wisconsin game was the one. That settled it.
Yeah, that was Wisconsin LSU.
Yeah.
And the line was, I think the line was 4.5, and I'm pretty sure LSU won by 4.
And I took Wisconsin on that.
Yeah. So you covered.
You
won that.
I may have got you.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think you did. All right, so we have all that to get to. Here's our fitness tip, though. We feel every week we we like to live a healthy lifestyle here on the Marc Loyd Show. And every week we throw out a quick fitness tip to you. Talk about drinking at least a gallon and a half of water or a gallon of water every single day. And here's a fitness tip. And really, what it's all about is everything you consume should have some kind of nutritional value. Do not eat empty calories. So everything you eat should serve some sort of nutritional purpose in your body to fuel your workouts and to be geared towards optimizing your body. I live by that, and you should too. And just you'll understand once you start doing that, because you start feeling so great and you have so much energy, just like Marc Loyd does of the Marc Loyd Show. I love talking in the third person.
Yeah,
The Rock taught me that when I was with him in World Wrestling. He always talked in the third person. I was like, that is so cool how you talk in the third person. I think I'll start doing that.
Is that what The Rock says?
Yes, that's what The Rock says. Absolutely right. All right, let's talk some NFL, shall we, Seminole Bill?
Let's go.
Excellent. Some quick observations from week 1. Some fantastic games, some overtime games. Atlanta over New Orleans, Buffalo over Chicago, Arizona over San Diego. All of them good games. Atlanta looked good, so did New Orleans. Buffalo looked good. Chicago is really disappointing for them to lose at home against Buffalo. E.J. Manuel, though, for you Seminole fans out there. Arizona pulled one out against San Diego. San Diego always finds a way to lose sometimes. The Cowboys and the Giants just look absolutely awful. Just awful. Yeah. It's just a shame. 2 big markets. I don't like the Cowboys, but I always think it's good for the NFL when the Cowboys play well. They just have a sense of excitement because of all their fans that comes along with it. Once again, I don't care for them. It's just a shame when they're this bad. How about the Dolphins, though?
Yeah, man.
Huge win over New England. They're kind of like Kentucky's thorn in the side to Florida. Miami is to New England. You know what I mean?
That's a very ancient rivalry, man.
Yeah.
Really
and New England's always the better team, but they lose lots of times to the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins really showed a lot coming back. It looked like they were going to get blown out, but Steve Tannehill and the boys just led them back and really shut down Brady in the offense, which I personally, I don't think I've ever seen before, how the Patriots got completely shut down Tom Brady's offense in the second half. That was shocking. Seattle looked like some of the Bills' predictions going to come true, and they're going to be in the Super Bowl and win it again.
Thank you.
My Lord, did they just obliterate Green Bay? And you know what? If I'm Green Bay, I'm just embarrassed that you won't. You have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, arguably top 3.
He's solid.
Top 3, in my opinion. You have good wide receivers, not great. And you won't even throw the Richard Sherman side of the field? Give me a break. Come on.
Way too much respect.
Yeah, way too much respect. So Seattle looked fantastic. The Jags, very disappointing. They came out like gangbusters, up 17-0 at Philadelphia, just knocking around the team that is supposed to boss. A lot of people have them going to the Super Bowl. definitely winning their division, and the Jags just laying egg in the second half. You know what that was? To me, that was going into halftime. And Chip Kelly going in and telling those guys, listen, you're a better football team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. You come out there and prove it. And Jacksonville not responding to the bell.
Right.
And that was disappointing. Chad Henne, as good as he looked at times, looked like Blake Bortles should be in there playing football for him.
Yeah, I mean, that if you got a little bit of a spark in that offense, you put those 17 points on early,
Yeah, it was just disappointing. I really wanted the Jags to win because I am not a fan of Chip Kelly and I'm not a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm telling you, Bill, what's the over/under before we see Blake Bortles? 5 games?
Oh, gosh.
5 games. If they're 2-3, if they're 1-4, does Bortles start playing in Game 6?
Why not?
No, I'm not asking.
I mean, he should be in there right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
I agree. But I'm going to put the over/under at 6 games if the record is 1-5.
Right.
Then Bortles will start coming in and starting those football games. The Bucs looked horrible, and you know what? Let me tell you something. That's what you get for signing a 2-year deal to a journeyman quarterback like Ben Allen. There's a reason that guy's been in the league for 10 years and has never really been a starter. I don't care what he did up in Chicago for a hiccup. I mean, give me a break. I roll my dice with Glennon back there. That's why you drafted the kid. He played okay the first year. Does he make all the right moves? No, because he's a rookie. How about you give him the benefit of the doubt the way you give all these other rookie quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt? From the RG3s, from other quarterbacks that the Derek Carr's up there in Oakland. You got to give them Derek Carr. I was thinking David Carr. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Geno Smith. Let them take their lumps a little bit. So, all right. The Bucs, I didn't think looked very good, and they need to get a guy in there with a big arm because Evans and Vincent Jackson are 2 fantastic wide receivers. Yeah, so you got to get those in there. We got to get to our predictions. All right, Bill, let's go head to head. We're running out of time, Hill. I know that was your game plan because you didn't want to lose. No, you wanted to stall, okay. So we get out of here. Okay, all right, here's our first game. Georgia at South Carolina. Georgia's -6. Who do you got?
You know what? I'm on the Georgia bandwagon right now. Georgia.
I'll take Georgia, too, laying the 6 over South Carolina. Oklahoma at Tennessee is our other head-to-head game. Oklahoma laying 21 against the all-powerful SEC team, Tennessee.
Well, you know what? I know you really believe these Oklahoma boys are going to run them out of the park. So I'm going to move over to Tennessee's side and say, come on, Rocky Top. Let's hang in there and give them a ball game. I'll take those 21 points.
Okay, all right. Bill's going to take the 21. And it's funny, is that I'm not a firm believer in Oklahoma, but boy, I want to see him spank Tennessee. So I will take Oklahoma laying the 21. Our NFL game should be a good game. Patriots at Minnesota. Patriots -3.5 on the road against the Vikings. What happens in this game, Bill?
Well,
I mean, Patriots trying to bounce back.
I mean, if you heard Brady on his interview the other night, he was not happy.
No, not at all.
And I mean, when he talks, normally things happen. So I think the Patriots bounce back.
You think the Patriots back? Should I go with Minnesota in the upset? No. I'm going to take the Patriots -3.5, 2 on the road to beat Minnesota. There's our head-to-head games now. 2 quick Vegas games. Take these to the bank, my good friend. This is straight from Vegas. Take Boston College in the 18 at home against Southern Cal. Southern Cal coming off an emotional win over Stanford in a bizarre game, but giving up huge points at home. Boston College lost last week to Pittsburgh, I think 30-20. I don't think BC's that great, but 18 points is a lot of points against USC at home. And I'm telling you, take the Gators, lay the 17.5 points. They're going to crush Kentucky. Well, at least they should, right? They're a high-flying offense with Roper. And Vegas says they're 17.5-point favorites. I think the Florida will cover that. Bill, do you agree or disagree?
I like those Wildcats, man.
You like the Wildcats, please.
No, they should cover. They should cover.
Yeah. So there's our 2 take it to the bank locks on the Marc Loyd Show.
Weird game of the week, though, Mark.
What now?
Can I throw one at you real quick?
Yes, go.
Louisville at Virginia after Virginia played UCLA so well.
You know what? That's an excellent. I think it's amazing what a couple 5-star kids could do for your team.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That Virginia had a couple real ringers the way Ole Miss did, right?
Yeah.
Has some confidence. Virginia's playing hard, and they look like on paper they should be the worst team in the ACC and one of the worst teams in college football. But they're playing hard. They played UCLA really well, and they're going against a Louisville team that did look impressive against the Miami Hurricanes. No doubt about that.
Interesting to watch that. Yeah.
Well, Bill, another one in the books.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
that goes so quick.
It does.
And we have so much to talk about still. But let's thank Pat Carter for coming on. Another Seminole great to the Marc Loyd Show. Fraud Protection Network, our founding sponsor here on the Marc Loyd Show. Also, Bassett Promotions. And then who did our banner up there, Seminole Bill?
Oh, man. Tell them, Eric. The banner was done by the folks at
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs.
What is it?
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs. They did a great job on the Marc Loyd Show banner, so thank Fast Signs for that. All right, we will talk to you next week, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Hit us up on Twitter at Marc Loyd Show. For Seminole Bill and Eric, I'm Marc Loyd. We'll talk to you next week. See you, everybody.